This is my brand new DIY recirculating Venturi-driven protein skimmer. It's constructed out of two 5-gallon carboys, one on top of the other, with a smaller, I believe, 3-gallon carboy inside as bubble plate. The original design only called for a single-bodied 5-gallon, but after some testing, I decided that adding a bubble plate and a second carboy were necessary to get the results I wanted. The whole unit is actually driven by a Mag 7 750 gallon per hour Pond Master pump, and a DIY Venturi is used. The pump is set up on true unions, so it can be removed for maintenance. To control the air in and make sure there's no hazardous backflow, I have a gang valve and a check valve on the airline. Overall, it sits about 3 feet tall and sits on a foam piece to level itself out, as well as allow for the pump to sit slightly lower than the skimmer body itself without too much issue. Water enters via this T and is pumped from a small pump after going through all my reactors, and gets pulled in with the pump and enters the skimmer body. The water exits via a 1-inch drain over here, and I always like to have the drain larger than the input, that way I don't have any risk of flooding. The water level in the skimmer is actually controlled by the ball valve on the return, and by closing it, you increase the pressure on the water inside the skimmer. It'll raise up, and you can make use of the full about 3 feet. As you can see, this still needs to be sealed, and some joints still need to be glued, but I felt I should make this video before I did any of that so that people can see it before I screw it up. If you have any questions, I suggest you first look at the first page when you Google DIY recirculating skimmer. I believe the webpage is actually diyproteinskimmer.blogspot.com, but I'll post the link in the sidebar. I'll give close-up views of all the parts individually so you can kind of get a better idea of how it works. That's the smaller carboy. That's been this is the upper half of it, so I just cut around, I cut the bottom off of it, and took a Dremel tool to the bottom and drilled a ton of holes. Originally I was going to go with a nice larger hole pattern, but perforated it with a lot of little punctures. The inside carboy is connected to the outside one via 2 bulkheads and a short piece of pipe. It goes into a 90 and a 45 so I can get nice circulation. With a 45, it pretty much just pointed at the side, and with the 90, again, pointed at the side. They were both undesirable. With the 90-45 combo, I get nice circulation. The DIY Venturi is actually a single piece of pipe, small hole drilled, rigid airline tubing fit over it. This works, but you don't have control, so you add the gang valve, and because when the power goes out or you unplug it, the water wants to flow out here because it's lower than the water in the skimmer body, you add a check valve. Now, they rip you off on these check valves, but if you want the security, buy one. Again, unions, Lowe's has them for $3, Big Al's $25. You choose. Teflon tape on all threads, and on the return there is a return stack. This allows air into the system so that I can submerge the output when it goes back to the skimmer. This is an external skimmer, or when it goes back to the sump, sorry. This is an external skimmer and it will be run as such, so I want to be able to keep it as I don't even know what I want to do, but by doing this I can run the pipe over and submerge it without having to worry about it splashing anywhere. By adding this stack, you allow air into the system, and you won't have any problems with the pressure inside the skimmer body. Yeah, that's about it right now. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just don't be afraid to ask. I'll be sure to answer them.